Hey crochet friends, I'm Tiffany and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make these crochet pumpkins. They are so fast and easy to whip up, and you can change them super easily by changing the amount of chains at the beginning and the amount of rows that you do. So grab some medium weight size yarn, a 5.25 millimeter crochet hook. You need a sewing needle, scissors, and you can use a wooden stick from outside or a cinnamon stick. And then just make sure that you have some poly-fil to fill your pumpkins. So any kind of stuffing will work. So just grab all of those and let's get started. Okay, so we are going to start with a slip knot. And if you've watched my videos, you will know that I roughly do about 4 or 5 inches of a tail to start. That's plenty to weave in. But for this, one of the ends needs to be fairly long. So I would suggest about a foot or more, so a foot at the least, so 12 inches or 15 inches or even higher, and then pinch the bottom with your thumb and pointer like that, and then pinch the top with your middle and ring finger. Make a heart with your right thumb and pointer and go underneath that loop with your palm facing up. Turn your palm facing down. Turn your right wrist towards your left. Grab this yarn. Now let the yarn above and below fall off, and then you will have your slip knot. Now put your crochet hook through this loop and pull it up towards your hook, just making sure that it's not too tight. For this pattern, we're just going to chain 20. So if you don't know how to chain, put the crochet hook in front of the working yarn, wrap it around, and then go through the loop that's on your hook. And then do that 19 more times. So put the crochet hook in front, wrap it around, go through the loop, put it in front, wrap it around, go through the loop. And do 20. So I have my 20 chains. Now in the third chain from the hook, so you don't count what's on your hook, that's your first chain, your second, and your third. You're going to go in that and do a half double crochet. So you wrap the yarn around first, go into that loop, the third loop, wrap the yarn around, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to wrap the yarn around and go through all 3 of these loops. And you're going to do a half double crochet in every single chain all the way down. So to do that again, wrap the yarn around first, go into the next chain, wrap the yarn around, pull up a loop, 3 loops, wrap the yarn around and pull through all 3 of these loops. And you should have 18 half double crochets when you get to the end. So just 1 half double crochet in every single chain. And I will meet you at the end when I have done all of my 18 half double crochets. All right, so that's my last half double crochet. So now chain 2 and turn. And you're going to turn your work so that you can see it from the top, because we're going to go only into the back loops. You have front loops and you have back loops. And for this row, we're only going to do the back loops. So we're going to do half double crochets. So wrap the yarn around first, go through your first back loop, wrap the yarn around, pull up a loop, wrap the yarn around and pull through all 3 of those loops. Go into the next back loop, wrap the yarn around, pull up a loop, wrap the yarn around, pull through those 3 loops. And just do this all the way across. So you should always have 18 stitches for every row. You're just doing 1 half double crochet in the back loops along this row. And if you need to hold like tilt your work towards you so that you can see it better. Just make sure you're going in those back loops and go all the way down, and I will meet you at the end of row 2. I have 17 stitches so far, so I have one more. And just in case if you get towards the end and it looks a little bit confusing, so this is a front loop and this back here is a back loop. The back loop of the one I just went in is going into that next loop. So it's the one behind it right here. And it's going to face the back of your work a little bit more. So it's just hard to see sometimes. So just make sure you're going in that correct loop, just so that it all matches. So now we're going to chain 2 and turn. And for row 3, we're going to work in the front loops. So look at your work again from the top. You have the back loops that you worked in. Now we're going to work in these ones that are closer to us. And we're still doing half double crochets, so wrap the yarn around first and the front loop. So go from underneath and out of the front loop. Wrap the yarn around, pull up a loop, wrap the yarn around, and go through all 3 loops. And now we're in the front loops. So wrap the yarn around, go into the front loop, going underneath and out, wrap the yarn around, and do that in every single stitch. So only in the front loops for row 3. Just make sure you're going from the bottom up, and then you're in the front loop. And you should have 18 stitches, so just keep track. Go all the way down. I will meet you at the end and show you that last stitch again. If you tilt that very last stitch, you will see your front loop and your back loop. It likes to face the back side every single row. It doesn't matter if you're on a back loop row or a front loop row. Your last stitch will always face the back more than your other stitches. So just make sure you're going in the right one. Now chain 2 and turn. And now we're going to work in our back loops like we did for row 2. So all we're doing is repeating row 2 and row 3, row 2 and row 3. So you're working a back loop row and a front loop row, a back loop row and a front loop row. That's all we're doing. Every single row we're just alternating. So find your first stitch and go into the back loop only of that stitch. So wrap the yarn around, find your first back loop, and do your half double crochet. Wrap the yarn around, go into your next back loop. This is a really easy pattern as long as you can identify your front loops and back loops. And it gives you a knit-like appearance. It pushes the stitches to face one side, so you kind of look like you're making it by knitting, but you're still crocheting. I will meet you at the end of this row and show you the next step. So if you just tilt your last stitch, you will see the front loop and the back loop. And chain 2 and turn. So now we are going to repeat row 3 where we worked into the front loops. So you have your back loops and those front loops. So go from underneath and out the middle, and then you're in your front loop and do your half double crochet. and do them all the way down from underneath and out. So pause the video, work all of your front loops now, and I will meet you at the end and show you the next step. And chain 2 and turn. To start this row, wrap the yarn around and then tilt your work so that you can find those back loops. That way you can go into the right loop and do your half double crochet, and that's all that you're doing. So just do 1 half double crochet in every single stitch all the way down, chain 2, turn, do 1 half double crochet in every stitch, and then just alternate doing back loops and front loops until you get up to row 21. So have fun crocheting all of that, and I will meet you at the end of my 21 rows and show you the next step. This is the back side or the inside of the pumpkin, and then this is the outside. Now we're going to chain 1 and then flip it over so that you see the pretty side and lift the bottom towards the top like that. Now grab the first stitch on the corner, and just like we were doing our back loops, tilt your stitches towards you and so that you can see the back loops, because that's what we're going to go into. So find the first one, go into the back loop, grab the yarn, pull through both stitches, and then pull that loop through this next loop. You're doing a slip stitch seam, so go into the next stitch, find the back loop of the stitch across, grab the yarn, go through both loops, and pull that loop through this next loop. And then just keep doing that, go into every stitch. And you don't have to work these so tight, the slip stitches. So just don't make too much tension. Like you could lift up a little bit and then go through the next loop. And you had 18 stitches, so you should have 18 stitches on the other side, and it should equally match up. So just go all the way down, grab the back loop of my last stitch across, do my slip stitch, and then you're going to flip your work inside out now, or right side out. So this is the pretty side. And we worked in the back loops so that now you have no idea where the seam is. It blends in so well. It just goes with the rest of the stitches. So I like seaming that way, at least with this design. So grab that yarn and give yourself a lot of tail. You can always have more than you need. Doesn't even matter how much, just make sure you have a lot. Cut my yarn, pull through. So now I have this huge tail. I'll get this other tail out from the inside. So now you need your sewing needle. I have to find where my end is at now. You're going to find where your yarn is attached. So it's right here. And you're going to skip the next 2 rows and go right beside it. So my yarn is right here. So I'm skipping 2 rows and I'm putting my hook really close next to that second row. And then just pull your yarn. Since your tail right here is going to be a little bit longer, it just takes a minute to pull on it. And wherever that spot is now, skip 2 rows, go right next to it. So it's going to be underneath these curves. That's where I'm going every time. So that's a curve, and then skip 2. This is a curve. I'm going to go right underneath it, underneath this curve. So you're just skipping 2 rows, putting your needle in. It's hard to work with a long tail on camera. But just keep going all the way around, full circle. So I'm going to do this really fast. And then pull on your yarn and it will close up that bottom. So I went around in this direction, so like clockwork. Now you're going to go back just to lock it in place. So just find some stitches, doesn't have to be anywhere specific. Just go under some just so that it stops that hole from opening back up. Okay, so now it's not going to go anywhere. So what you want to do is go back through the middle hole. Go through it and up and out the top. Now grab your stuffing and we are going to stuff the pumpkin first. If you stuff it too much, it will start spreading and stretching your stitches, and then you will start seeing the polyfill push through the little holes, since this is tiny bit see-through. This is all going to be based on feel, so you guys can just use your best judgment how to stuff your pumpkins. And every size will take a different amount anyway, so I think that looks good. So grab your shorter tail. So the one you had at the very beginning, that's maybe like a couple feet long. This is the one that we just wove with the bottom. So I'm just putting that towards the right because I'm focused on my smaller one. And we're going to do the same thing, like work your way around. So he's right here. So I'm going to skip 2. And I won't have the curves on this side. So just find a spot next to that. And then skip 2 rows, go right next to it. Skip 2 rows, go right next to it. Skip 2, go right next to it. Skip 2. So just do this all the way around. So now pull on your tail. And now this step, you don't want to pull on it completely. It depends on if you're using a cinnamon stick or an actual stick. So I'm going to use this size. Since this is such a small stick, I should be safe to pull it all the way. And I will still have a gap there. So after pulling it, do that same thing. So I'm going to hold it with my thumb and then go back in the other direction under some stitches so it locks it in place. And now you do want to just weave this tail in. You will no longer need this tail, so you can weave it in however you would like, just so that this doesn't unravel. Go underneath different stitches. So just cut that yarn. Don't cut your pumpkin. Add this yarn to your sewing needle. So if you tug on it, it is attached to the bottom. So if you tug on it, it's going to pull that bottom and give you a little bit of a pumpkin bottom versus just like a poof round bottom that just doesn't want to sit. So this is going to sit really nicely wherever I put it. So tug on it, and wherever it's at, go so it's closer to this side. So I'm going to go in this side and just lay it on the outside, keeping tension on it. And this is how you're going to get your little rounded edge. And then you're going to go back through the middle of the pumpkin and up and out the top as best as you can. So it helps to use a nice chunky needle so you can feel it. And I'm using my thumb to hold this yarn in place and keep tension on it until it's through the bottom. You can go as many as you would like. So if you want to only do 3, like cut it in thirds, go there, kind of just lay it, see how many you think you would like. So I'm going to go just right across. So wherever you find, and then hold that tension, make it go out from the bottom, out the top, holding it with your thumb. And it helps if you follow a row. So instead of having it like angled and weird, just lay it along a row. It looks a lot better. Go out from the bottom, out through the top. The more that you do, the cuter your pumpkin gets. See that? Do one more. Just gonna try and find a row to go down. So I'll give my pumpkin 4 little bumps. Go out from the bottom. You're gonna go right back down to lock it in place. I'm gonna break my needle one of these days. It's just a plastic needle. There, now it's nice and locked in place. And now you can weave this in on the bottom, that way you won't see it. If your needle will let you. It wants to just go inside the pumpkin and vanish. So just weave this in really well. And this was the top. So I'm gonna grab my stick, and then that is literally all you do. So tag me on Facebook and show me how yours turned out. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe and all those good things. It really helps me out. And have fun crocheting your fall pumpkins. Bye, crochet friends.